Hello and welcome to the 140k Imperial Guard Tactics video. Now before we get into today's video, I would like to say a big thank you to Daniel Schmidt for sending in some awesome pictures of his Imperial Guard army. Really like the theme of this army, definitely got a feudal guard vibe going on. Love a good old feudal guard army, so thank you for sending these pictures in, Daniel. If anyone else has got any cool pictures they want me to use in my videos, then please post them on my Facebook page. There will be a link down in the description below. If you don't use Facebook or you don't like Facebook for whatever reason, then I also have an email address, mordianglorytv@gmail.com, and you can send them to me by that. I tend to alternate between using ones that are sent from email, ones that are sent by Facebook, so it might be a week or so before you see your pictures, but if you send them to me, I'll at least give them a look and I'll try and use them in my videos if at all possible. One last thing to mention before we get into the video proper, I just want to say a big thank you to the channel Patreon supporters. I'm trying to make a bit more of an effort and make a big deal out of my Patreon supporters, because honestly, without you guys, this channel would just be a big sack of shit. And I mean that, I say that jokingly, but I mean it very sincerely. You know, all the Patreon money goes straight back into the channel when I'm allowed to, without UK lockdown. It goes into going to events, it goes into new video editing software, it goes into new models for the armies, it goes into new terrain. All the Patreon money goes directly back into the channel, is reinvested in the channel, and I don't monetize any of my videos. I don't believe in that. I think content should just be free, and if you like it, you should donate towards it. And there's no different levels of Patreon support or anything like that. It's purely just, if you like what I do, head on over, chuck a few dollars at it, and I'll be really grateful. I truly will be. So anyway, enough waffling. You guys aren't here for Patreons. You aren't here for anything else. You are here for the cold, hard, tactical facts of the Mordian Glory channel. And that is what I'm going to give to you today. And this is going to be a bit of a quick tip, Tactica. Bit of a general rule. A bit of a just step back. Bit of a reminder. Bit of a sense check. Right, enough of a preamble. What am I talking about? I'm talking about something looking good on paper, and remembering that just because it's on paper, it doesn't mean that it will translate to the game. And it's a bit of a reminder that variety is the spice of life. So what the hell am I talking about here, guys? Well, let me give you an example. There's a lot of chatter, a bit of chit and chat around the water cooler around how to run Imperial Guard tanks. It's probably one of the most frequent, if not the most frequently asked question on any forum to do with Guard. I've bought my first tank, I've got my start collecting set, how do I build it? What's the best weapon loadout? Blah, blah, blah. And you'll see, especially in 9th edition, you'll see everyone give the same answer. Demolisher cannons. All you need is Demolisher cannons. Praise be to the almighty God Emperor that is the Demolisher cannon, Leman Russ tank commander, especially. And you will see a lot of people suggest other options, but then they will get shouted down or downvoted, and it's a case of, Demolisher cannons or bust. If it's not a Demolisher cannon, it's the best, and if you put it on paper, it's the best. And just if you're taking anything but Demolisher cannons, you're a fool. You're a fundamental fool. And whilst on paper, and it's hard to disagree with the fact that Demolisher cannon tank commanders are very, very powerful, and I'm not disagreeing with that now. Demolisher cannons on tank commanders, even on basic Leman Russes, are a fantastic weapon option. But there is a key thing to remember, which is, as I said at the beginning of the video, variety is the spice of life. It is important to have multiple tools in your toolbox. There is no one weapon that is the answer to everything. There just isn't. You have to have a mixture. And whilst on paper, Demolisher cannons are really, really good, they have a fundamental key weakness, which is they have a short range. Now, I can immediately hear the typing of keyboards and people saying, but if you take spotter details or destroyer and you then move 5 inches, and you have a tank that has a 35-inch threat range, that's actually quite long range Mordian Glory. Yes, it is a decent threat range, but it is not able to reach and destroy things in the enemy's backfield. It cannot do that. 9 times out of 10, maybe 8 times out of 10, which would be 4 times out of 5. But the point is, 80 to 90% of the time, the Demolisher tank commander is gonna be good. It's gonna work. You're gonna play on a Dawn of War battlefield, and you're gonna be facing against people who want to fight you for the midfield, and you're gonna be having a great time. But I would actually say that's a good sort of. You know, I'm gonna be honest. I think that makes about 66% of the scenarios that you'll find yourself in with your tank commanders. And you've got to remember, if your tank commanders are doing all the heavy lifting for you, and you've given all of your tanks Demolishers cannons because you've read online that Demolishers cannons all bust, you will get yourself into a situation very quickly where you're not playing on a Dawn of War battlefield. And by Dawn of War, I mean, you know, where you're playing on the long edge and your opponent's on the long edge. I'm talking where you're playing on the short edge and you've got much further to go. When you're playing on the short edge, right? And the Demolisher's short range isn't a problem until it is a problem, and then it will cause you to lose the game in what on paper would look like an easy matchup for you. Now, I have a really good example of this. I'm not just talking the talk, but I have walked the walk. And if you go, it's a little out of date. It's 8th edition, not 9th edition. Fair enough, but the point still stands, and it's a good example of what I'm talking about. One of the most popular battle reports, if not the most popular battle report on this channel, is when I previewed the Psychic Awakening book, and it was my guard versus Tau, and the Tau list had loads of hammerheads, and it was on paper. The Imperial Guard should have won. You know, I had combined regiments, and there was all this kind of things. But spoiler alert, I lost that game. And the reason I lost is because all of my tanks were either Demolisher cannon variants or they were plasma cannon variants. And I only had a 36-inch range. And my opponent was fielding hammerheads. And I had more tanks than him. I had 5 tanks to his, and I had sentinels to his 4 hammerheads. That's all he had. He had other troops, but his main thing was 4 hammers, 3 regular and 1 long strike, not Pask. And I lost because he simply outranged me. He simply outranged me, and I could never get and he outmaneuvered me, and I just couldn't get my tanks into range to do the damage, and it just couldn't happen. So, my word of warning to all you new players out there is, Demolisher cannons are good, but you need to make sure that you are either out of your 3 tank commanders, or 4 if you're running Cajun, or 5 if you're running Cajun and you've got Destroying Detachment in there to use Firstborn Pride and a regular tank to make it pseudo tank commander. Basically, out of your 3 to 5 tanks that you're taking, your 3 to 5 main damage dealers, make sure that if you're running 3 Demolisher tank commanders, that you're taking maybe a couple of Manticores. You know, if you're running 5 Leman Russes as your main, you know, damage dealers, make sure 3 of them are Demolishers, go for it. But make sure you've got 2 of them, which on paper, they look like they've got the suboptimal choice. You know, they've got the battle cannon, why would you take that? But make sure you take that weapon. Because sure, there will be games when you wish you had Demolisher cannon, but it still just about works, and it won't cause you to lose a game by taking a couple of longer ranged options on your tanks. It might make the victory slightly harder, might make that unit slightly less efficient, but it won't lose you the game. But it will lose you the game if you have no long range support. If you rely entirely on Demolisher cannons. It will. And maybe in that 5-game tournament, it'll only cause you to lose 1 game. But it will cause you to lose it hard and in a matchup where you simply shouldn't have lost. It will happen. I'm speaking from experience. I have got the video evidence on this channel to back it up. Anyway, that's my little bit of advice for you guys today. Hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Any of you guys, you know, if you disagree with me, go for it. I have no issue with people disagreeing with me. If you agree with me though, put down some sage advice, put down some stories, it's important to talk about our victories, but it's also important to talk about our losses, because you learn more from your losses than your victories. You know, those of you who have been in a similar situation to me, what was it? What was it? Let me know. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and of course, I'll see you guys next time.